Meeting of the Sawyer County Zoning Committee is hereby called to order. We have a roll call, please, Kathy.
Jesse Betcher.
Here.
Ron Buckholz.
Here.
Tweet Schuman.
Here.
Stacy Hessel.
Here.
Michael Maestri.
Here.
John Righeimer as alternate here. Thank you.
Okay, statement of committee and hearing procedure and statement of hearing notice. The full statement of committee and hearing procedure document, including directions for individuals wishing to speak at a public hearing to be conducted at this zoning committee meeting, are available at the front of this room next to the agenda for today's meeting. The statement of committee and hearing procedure document is hereby incorporated into the record for this committee meeting. Any public hearing conducted at today's committee meeting has been published as a Class 2 notice in accordance with Chapter 985 of Wisconsin statutes in the Sawyer County Record and Sawyer County Gazette and posted. I will entertain a motion for approval of the August minutes.
Make that motion.
I skipped the Pledge of Allegiance. We're gonna go back to that. Thank you. I can't believe that happened. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Gentlemen, please remove your hats. Pledge allegiance to the flag and to the republic one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll.
Okay, again, I apologize for that oversight. And we have a motion by Mr. Buckholz for approval of the August minutes and a second by Ms. Hessel. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, that passes. Before we get into public comments, I have a question for Mr. Andy Phillips. Are you online?
Yes, I am, Mr. Chair. Good morning.
Yeah, good morning, Andy. So, for the sake of, we have a lot of people in the courtroom here, and there's some agenda items further down that I know people are wanting to speak on. But as you're aware, there's two items, which is number 3, 4, D. Oops, 4C and D. 4C and D, and then all of agenda item 5. The towns have not acted on those. Therefore, I would rather not have a public hearing on those, since it would just be a public hearing, which would then most likely result in a postponement until after the towns hear them. So my question is, do we have to hold a public hearing on those agenda items if we know that they're going to get postponed?
No, and I think that, no, because as long as you renotice another public hearing and the public is obviously invited to testify at that next public hearing, that's fine. And I think that for the benefit of those in the audience, it's helpful to note that town approval it's a big deal as it relates to the committee's deliberations. It's a big deal as it relates to statutory requirements. And so postponing the public hearing until the time when this committee can actually consider the item of business is entirely appropriate in this circumstance.
Okay. Yes.
Yeah, so to my follow-up question then is, should we move those items up in the agenda to go through the postponing action? Or, do we just kind of reiterate to the audience here that it's most likely going to get postponed because the town has not taken action? Obviously, I'm not speaking for the committee here, but it would still need to be a motion to postpone to a date certain.
I think it would be appropriate for somebody to make a motion at this point to postpone items 4D and E, I believe.
C and D.
I'm sorry, yes, for C and D and all of item 5, postpone it to the next scheduled zoning committee meeting. And if you make that motion now, then the audience can have certainty that it will be on the agenda next month.
Sure, and I'll just jump in and reiterate here. So we're looking at the public hearing in the town of Lenroot, conditional use permit number 22-028 for Larry and Kim Vermisio. This is the request for an 84 site campground. Again, the town did not take action on that. And if the committee wants to do this in 2 parts, we can just move that up and discuss that.
Well, I don't think,
We'll not discuss it.
we're
but
not going to go into discussion. And that's what we're trying to do here. We're not trying to, pull the wool over anybody's eyes. We're trying to save people's time. We don't want to hold two separate public hearings on the same agenda item. And we also don't want people to sit around for an hour or 2 hours until they get to item, 4C or 5, and then find out that we're not even going to, discuss the matter. So we're trying to be a little bit more efficient here is what we're trying to do. So we need do we need a motion to move it up first on the agenda?
I think Andy was saying you could just go ahead and
Just go ahead and
postpone
do it.
those at these point, but I would do them separately because 5, I want to speak on a little bit as well.
Okay, so I would entertain a motion to postpone agenda item
4C and D.
and 4D.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, Mr.
I'll make that motion to postpone item number 4C and D until I believe our October meeting.
Until October meeting or until.
Or
time
until
approved.
we hear, or until the town makes.
Right, we would still have to publish because we would
Yeah.
have to get the publications out before the town even hears it. So October is.
Okay. All right, motion by Mr. Buckholz to postpone items 4C and D until October.
I'll second
We have a
that.
second by Ms. Hessel. Any further discussion? We don't need a roll call vote on this. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed?
Perfect. Number 5 is for the rezone and conditional use permit. That was for the town of Round Lake rezone number 22-012, owner Travis Butterfield for non-metallic mining operation. This would also be conditional use permit number 22-026. In conversations with the town and the applicant, they are not going to be hearing this until the November town board meeting. So any postponing of this item, you would want to postpone to the November zoning committee public hearing.
So I'd entertain a motion to postpone item 5.
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Ms. Hessel, second by
second.
Mr. Schuman to postpone agenda item number 5 until
Until,
the November zoning committee meeting. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay,
Perfect.
that's it.
Thank you, folks. Those that were here again for the campground and the gravel pit, for Butterfield's gravel pit, we are not hearing those today. They've been postponed. And then we can jump back to public comments.
Thank you.
Okay, public comment. Please note comment time is intended for general public comments, not comments relating to a specific application before this committee. Each agenda item requiring a public hearing will have its public hearing conducted just prior to the application being considered by this committee. If you wish to speak on a specific agenda item, we encourage you to hold your comments until then. So for general public comments, I know we have
Yes,
at
I
least
have one here. Linda Zilmer, County Ordinances, Rules and Responsibilities.
Linda Zilmer, 902 Holly Hill Lane, Birchwood, Wisconsin, Edgewater property owner. My comments, general comments, are with the intent of helping improve the communication and process for the public, the town, and the county zoning committee, and ultimately the county board. You've been able to postpone a couple of items to wait for town decisions. What would be helpful for the public in towns is to post to the county website the detailed packets of prior to the towns holding their monthly meetings. So for instance, there's a class 2 notification requirement to publish in the newspaper, but that's not enough information for affected communities or neighbors to see all the detail. This detailed packet was only, I think, posted a week in advance of this hearing, so that information's not available when towns hold their meeting. Also, with regard to my comment last night about the codification of the county's entire ordinances, all their ordinances, this committee has not discussed that process in detail. I don't think it's even been an agenda item. So I would hope that this committee can put the codification of ordinances on an agenda item. I think it's important to help facilitate that conversation between towns, the zoning committee, and the county board as well. And I think the roles and responsibilities and doing due diligence at both levels is important. But in those conversations, please also recognize that some towns are able to do more due diligence at their level and other towns do not. So you've got some good examples of towns that do hard work, but when you take a town recommendation, please try and tease out how much work was done at the town level versus, one town versus another. Thank you.
Next I have Douglas Kurzweil, public comment.
Douglas Kurzweil, 11055W Arrow Road, Hayward, Wisconsin, 54843. 3 months ago, this committee had a discussion and adopted a resolution, I believe, to provide guidance, policy direction regarding a matter that was in litigation. The case is now closed. The judge's order has been signed and entered. And as a result of the judge's order and that ordinance, there seems to be some contradiction as to definitions in the zoning ordinance. And this is causing some level of confusion among the general public. I'm also a bit confused, but I was a party to the litigation. I have a pretty good understanding of what's going on. But I think the big question is, how can you justify or defend a resolution of guidance that contradicts a court order regarding the definition in an ordinance? Thank you.
That's all I have for sign-up sheets, unless there's.
Is there anyone online with a hand up or anything? Okay, no, we have others still for agenda.
Yes, yep. The rest are all for agenda items. Hearing or seeing no other public comment, we'll move on to rezone applications. This is the public hearing, the town of Sand Lake, rezone number 22-011, owner Futurewood Corporation, the northwest one quarter, the southwest one quarter, section 14, township 38 north, range 9 west, parcel 026-93814-3201. 28 total acres with 11 acres, which would be incorporated within the lake. It is zoned F1 Forestry 1. Purpose of the request is to rezone all F1 land above the lake elevation to residential recreational 1 to eventually create 2 or 3 separate lots. This would result in approximately 17 acres subject to the request. The shoreline wetland district is not to be affected as part of this request. Again, as per my staff report, let me get to it here. Again, the request is to rezone approximately 17 acres from F1 to RR1 and to then eventually create 2 or 3 additional lots. The F1 zone district requirements would need a minimum of 5 acres and 300 feet of width along the lake. Thus, the zone district change is being requested. The Town of Sand Lake Comprehensive Plan future land use map shows this area as shoreland. Shoreland is defined by the Town of Sand Lake Comprehensive Plan, still references the old lake classification system, which is no longer in effect. These lake classifications were initially intended to protect environmentally sensitive bodies of water. This property is located on Rogers Lake off County Highway F and would be classified or would have been classified as a wilderness body of water, which would have required a 300-foot wide lot of water frontage and a minimum of 5 acres. The town comprehensive plan references only up to the old class 3 system, which would have been a minimum density of 1 home per 40,000 square feet of land area and 200 feet of frontage. The town plan further goes on to state when and whether there are areas should be rezoned to be consistent with the provisions of the Town of Sand Lake Comprehensive Plan. It is at the discretion of both the Town of Sand Lake and the Sawyer County Zoning Committee based on a mutual agreement upon this decision. If the property was rezoned to RR1, the minimum lot size would be 100 feet of width and 100 feet of frontage and 200 feet of depth under the new shoreline zoning rules, and could most likely fit up to 4 lots on Rogers Lake with a separate easement or wetland fill access road to additional upland area. In conversations with the applicant, the rezone is being requested in order to utilize the existing footprint of an existing cabin on this property that would be divided out on its own separate lot. A separate lot from there would be where the new primary dwelling is currently being constructed. So eventually have 2 separate primary dwellings on 2 separate lots. The surrounding area is mix of residential, forestry, and 1 other dwelling on Rogers Lake. As part of the town board decision, motion was approved. Robert Langham, chairman, Edgar Gregory, supervisor, George Shedby, supervisor. It would not be detrimental to ecology, wildlife, wetlands, or shorelines. Signed, Elaine Nyberg, Town Clerk. There were 4 opinion letters sent out, all 4 with objections. Those were sent to the committee. Committee, did you have a chance to review those?
Yes.
Let the record reflect the committee had a chance to review the decision letters and therefore are incorporated into record. That is all.
Okay, need a motion to go into public hearing.
So move, Mr. Chairman.
Motion by Mr. Buckholz,
Second.
second by Mr. Schuman to go into public hearing. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, we are in public hearing. Is the applicant, representative from Futurewood in attendance? Could you please step up to the microphone and state your name?
Thanks again for hearing this out. Tim Butterfield, 3842N, County Road F, Stone Lake, Wisconsin. Yeah, so as Jay stated and as the application states, my family, we have a large family, and we're simply trying to create 2 living structures on our property so that we can have secondary housing for our children and us. And the property, as he said, is the majority of it is water. So we're dealing with very irregular corners of this property. And that's the reason why we cannot create bigger lots out of the 28 acres that exist. We have the property next door that is already R1. So we're just looking to switch this property from forestry to R1 for the reason to rebuild the cabin that was existing at one point, and the foundation's still there. We had Todd Gould drop a preliminary map. If you guys would like to see that, of where the lots would be.
Yeah. I'd like to distribute them, hopefully.
Yeah, that's not in the packet.
It isn't. No, it's just, and I can send you a more detailed map if you need so, but that shows how it's laid out to create the 2 lots. Thanks, Jake. So essentially on lot 2, it shows the lot up on the northern upslope of the property, but the cabin's position is actually right above lot 1. That was the existing location off County Road F.
Thank you. Is there any questions from the committee for Mr. Butterfield? I have 2. So in the original application, it said eventually create 2 or 3 separate lots.
That's how we wrote the application. We don't have any intention on creating any more lots on this lake. We enjoy the fact that this lake is very private. And essentially the only goal we have here is to create lot 2, which essentially gives us the opportunity to potentially build the guest house on the same, the same side.
Okay. Okay, that's all the questions I have.
And just to reiterate to the committee, so there is right now currently a house under construction, almost complete, probably 80% complete, that would be already existing on lot 1. There was an existing dwelling that was removed, basically right where that pink dot is, where they're then attempting to make everything north of that lot 2 in order to rebuild within that existing footprint of that existing cabin, which was removed in October of last year. So there is a kind of an internal deadline with the removal of a structure and still being able to be allowed to rebuild within the same footprint. It kind of falls under the discontinued non-conforming use clause. So this is the process in order to rebuild within that existing footprint. Would have to split it into its own separate lot, and the only way they can split it into its own separate lot would be having the rezoning approved.
Okay, thank you. Okay, we have a question.
Yes.
Like lot 2 is much larger than lot 1, correct?
It is by size. That's just due to all the swamp area. The wetland, yes.
Yeah, here to the north this would be upland up in this corner, and there is kind of an upland strip then between the lake and the road, and that's where that existing cabin was located. Those that have ever gone down County Highway F, there was always a little brown cabin that was right on Rogers Lake there.
and you have two driveways on that property or access lot two?
That cut off, Bodie.
Lot 1 and Lot 2 have driveways, they're shared driveways, they split right there, yes, yep. It's all the existing driveways that have been there ever since that cabin was around. We extended a new driveway up to our home to Lot 1. It's the same exit from F. And the other things that will be corrected if allowed to build on Lot 2, the current old cabin that was there that was tore down it's got a lot of grading problems. The grade, it sits much lower than County Road F. So all of the grade will be corrected so that the runoff doesn't head into the lake as it does and it always has. And also a new sewer system will have to be installed, which the current system is within 10 feet of the water, the drain field, the old system. So just some of the things that will be greatly improved on the corner, the driveway elevations, and then also the sewage systems. So
And how do you access the northern part of lot 2?
there is no access to the northern part.
Thank you.
Just one more thing, and I don't know who can answer this, but it looks like that strip of land between the lake and the road is maybe 75 feet, according to the scale that's on the map.
Yes.
So does that meet the setback requirements for both the lake and the road?
It doesn't, and that's where, be it that it was an existing non-conforming structure there that was demoed last October, they would have to apply for a permit to rebuild within that same footprint within a 1-year time frame from demolition. It does not meet the current setbacks, but it would be listed as an existing non-conforming structure, and you would have the ability to rebuild within the existing footprint and also vertically expand within the existing footprint up to 35 feet in height.
It does meet the road setback though, correct, Jay?
I guess I have not measured that. I would highly doubt it. County Highway F would be a 75-foot center line setback. And I don't,
You told me 39 was what you looked up, I thought, when we.
39 might be where it currently is, but 75 is the required setback from the center line of the road. The road right of way, which I do believe it's out of, that would be a 4-rod road, which would be 66 feet in width, so 33 feet from center line.
Okay.
That would
It's
be the
definitely
right
out
of way,
it's
but that's
definitely
not
out
the
of that,
setback.
Okay. All right. Thanks, sir.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, is there anyone who would like to speak in favor of this rezone request in the room or online? Is there anyone who would like to speak in opposition to the rezone request?
First I have is a Carolyn Bear. Public comment. Carolyn, you'd like to speak on this?
If you come up to the microphone, ma'am, and state your name and address, you'll have 3 minutes to talk.
All right, thank you. My thanks to the members of the Sawyer County Zoning Committee for the important work you do, and also for this opportunity to speak at the hearing. My name is Carolyn Bear. My local address is 3955 North Marsh Lake Road, Stone Lake, Wisconsin. Property that borders the land that is the subject of this public hearing. My year-round address is 391 Provident Avenue, Winnetka, Illinois. My husband, John Bear, found our 120-acre property on Rogers Lake 53 years ago when he was a rising senior at the University of Wisconsin, Stevens Point, with a major in natural resource management. He was fortunate to be mentored by Roger Langham during a summer internship in Hayward at the ranger station. Then when we were married, after he purchased the land, he shared it with me, and eventually we shared it with John's mother and father, Eleanor and Robert M. Bear, his brother, Robert M. Bear Jr., and his sister, Emily Bear. John's parents lived in the cabin year-round during the 1970s. John and I, my family and his family, were all born and raised in Wisconsin. Reedsburg to Loyal to Greenwood, and La Crosse to Fall Creek to Middleton. We grew up amid the wonderful things that Wisconsin has to offer. And having our place in Sawyer County all these years means that we were able to continue our camping, hiking, canoeing, cross-country skiing, bicycling, and more, always appreciating the beauty and serenity and the wilderness of Rogers Lake. The next generation of Bears are already treasuring these in our modest cedar log cabin, which was built in 1972. Cousins Jessica, Julia, and Rob are our designated heirs. Following that next generation is yet another, 5 wonderful grandchildren. And the 3 in middle school have already asked if they could move to a cabin and attend high school in Hayward.
You have 30 seconds remaining, ma'am.
Okay. I have 3 zoning questions. At the Monday night meeting, there was no discussion of the upper strip of land, so that this request is for 17 acres. But the 17 acres is not currently accessible. All of this land, including the building sites and the upper part, are located on Futurewood Corporation land.
I'm gonna have to ask you to wrap it up, ma'am. You're-
Okay, I will. And so I am wondering 3 things. What is the master plan for the upper acreage? Would the zoning committee remove the currently non-accessible acreage from this zoning request? And would the zoning committee deny the current request, or would the zoning committee deny the current request until such time as a comprehensive master plan is developed for the non-accessible property?
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
Next I have John Bear.
Yes, good morning, and thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you, Board, for your devotion and your hard work for the stewardship and protecting our beautiful Sand Lake Township and water. I'm John Bear. I have the same address on Marsh Lake Road temporarily. And also from 391 Provident in Illinois, Winnetka. During the 53 years of using this wild land, the owners, their children, and grandchildren have deeply valued the serenity, privacy, and aesthetic beauty of the land. All our decisions on land management have been in accordance with best ecology and conservation values. We have spoken several times with our neighbors, Rebecca and Tim Butterfield, about the rezone proposal. We understand their interest in having more housing for their large family. We also shared our commitment to the ecology and conservation. We're opposed primarily because the proposal from Futurewood speaks to a 24 by 24 antiquated footing, which doesn't meet contemporary zoning requirements and certainly doesn't meet the requirements of the comprehensive plan. What we would like is to ask the committee to make a contingency, first to consider not approving the proposal until there is a master plan for the upper land, as Mr. Kozlowski noted, that's with a road across the black spruce, or with a easement, they can then develop that hillside. So we would like to have a statement, a master plan that goes with the proposal for that area of land. The proposal does not have that at this time. Therefore, it's an incomplete proposal, and we ask your consideration of either getting a contingency or a rewrite on the proposal. Thank you. You've already seen the fact-finding report and Mr. Kozlowski's thorough report, and we just want to emphasize that this is a vulnerable lake. You know, we've all seen what's happened in Sawyer County and other lakes across the state of Wisconsin, that development inevitably affects the ecology more than we know. And we understand that managing change is very difficult. We ask your assistance with managing the change for this proposal. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you.
Thank you for your work.
Next I have is Linda Zomer.
Linda Zilmer, 902 Holly Hill Lane, Birchwood, Edgewater property owner. I have several procedural concerns with the way this public hearing is being conducted. Number one, there were 4 opinion letters sent out. 4 were returned with objections. Neither the people here in the public nor the applicant have the benefit of hearing what those objections were in order to address them. And anyone who is here who may have submitted a letter are limited to 3 minutes to try and then repeat those concerns, where if they had all been read into the record at the beginning, everyone would be aware of what those concerns were. Second of all, I have a concern. There are many similarities between this case and the Mr. Frenshu Edgewater case. And I think Mr. Frenshu's case was publicly noticed 3 different times. A lot of confusion as to what acreage is being rezoned. And I believe that the public class 2 notice stated the 22 acres, and that's what you're being asked to consider today. Regardless of whether there's acreage in the bottom of the lake or wetlands, that would all be rezoned. So your decision is to consider rezoning all of the parcel. I also have a concern with how the zoning department, when this was all one parcel as Forestry 1, permitted a second structure unless it was with the condition of the removal of that cabin. And I think it's maybe a misuse of the zoning ordinance to allow that land use permit to be issued, and then maybe with the intent known that that cabin be replaced. There is, I think, just site-wise and specific to this, it should not be allowed to be split off to allow to rebuild that, because it cannot meet any setbacks. And just from the forestry protection standpoint, I recognize Futurewood. We've encountered each other in the past, and I respect how they manage forest. But to then also start putting recreational, residential, and working land such as forestry on small lots versus 5 acres where there's a buffer, maybe it'll stay in families for many years, but maybe it won't. And then when you have forestry practices next to residential, as you have seen with trails and such, that can cause potential conflicts. So I do believe.
30 seconds. Right.
Thank you. Please deny this rezone, and there is that potential to build a second structure somewhere on that land, provided access maybe from the other road, and get more than one dwelling on that lot in Forestry 1. Thank you.
Any other comments?
Not that I have.
Any comments, any hands up online? Okay, there's no other questions from the applicant, then we'll need a motion to come out of public hearing.
So moved.
Motion by Ms. Hessel. Second by Mr. Buckholz to come out of public hearing. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed?
This is the discussion action in Town of Sand Lake, rezone number 22-011, owner Futurewood Corporation. Legal description is previously read into record. This request is to rezone all Forestry 1 F1 land above the lake elevation to residential recreational 1. This would result in approximately 17 acres subject to the rezone request.
Okay, committee, it's in our hands. We can.
I have a question. Jay, is this compatible with other zoning around, or are we dealing with spot zoning here?
So we do have the zone district map up here. There is residential recreational 1 on the east side of Rogers Lake. So the east side of Rogers Lake is zoned RR1, but they are still, as larger tracts of land. Futurewood Corp does own this other 40-acre parcel right here. And then the Bears own that northeast 40 acres and actually a couple other 40s even further north of that. So it would not be considered spot zoning. Okay. Ultimately, it isn't super consistent with the town's comprehensive plan, but yet the town's comprehensive plan is slightly out of date as to the old lake classification systems. And the town board did recommend for approval.
And then Jay, can you explain please how this existing dwelling somehow gets around the setbacks? And
Yeah.
right? You
So,
mentioned that earlier.
right. So when the applicant initially came in last year, they wanted to build a new dwelling. They looked at, tearing down the existing one or vertically expanding the existing one. And it was at that time determined, okay, we're just going to build a new dwelling in this kind of southwest corner. So at that time, we approved the land use permit to build here. The stipulation to build in that location was removal of the existing, because you'd only be allowed one primary dwelling on one lot. So that was done, that was concluded. And then the applicant proposed, well, how am I able to utilize that existing footprint from that existing cabin still? So the only way that I can theoretically see it possible is if you were able to split the lot and have two separate lots. The only way you can split the lot and have two separate lots is by getting approval of a rezone, because you wouldn't meet the acreage or dimensional requirements, be it that it's still in forestry. Now that that existing footprint would potentially be on its own separate lot if the rezone was approved, you could have a new lot there, and still with that 1 year requirement for the approvals to rebuild in the existing footprint. I don't see anywhere else that we would be able to deny rebuilding within the existing footprint. The state statutes and NR 115, the shoreline zoning minimum standards, allow for replacement within the existing footprint for a non-conforming dwelling. So yes, absolutely, that existing dwelling that was there is definitely non-conforming. I think it's like 10 or 15 feet from the water. It may be only 40 feet or so from the center line of the road, but it's been existing. It's been there as a non-conforming structure. And there are provisions to allow for replacement within that existing footprint. I may not like them myself, but that's not up to me. That's up to our state legislators.
And that's if the existing structure were torn down within a year or rebuilt within a year or something?
They would have to submit for a land use permit within 1 year of date of demolition. And it was determined demolition occurred October 1st. So the applicant has a land use permit ready to go and is just going through the rezoning procedures.
Yeah.
If the rezoning was denied, the applicant would not be allowed to rebuild within that existing footprint.
Okay, and I'm sorry, Chairman, one more question, Jay. Jay, so then if it were to be rezoned, could lot one have two lots? Is that large enough? Does it meet the shoreline footage?
And you can see from that preliminary map that they submitted. So lot one is that far southeast portion, and that's where that new dwelling is already being constructed, is about 80–90% complete. Right kind of where that skinny portion of lot two starts is where the existing dwelling was that was removed. But lot two would also encompass that entire land going all the way up to the north, just so that they can grab their dimensional requirements. Now it's weird how you can, create a lot. You're showing your dimensional requirements for the lot up here, yet you're rebuilding on the lot in that skinny, narrow portion. Now, if the rezone was approved, could the applicant split and make additional lots up here? The answer would be yes, but access is going to be the issue. They would either need to secure easements from the neighbor of the north or be granted a wetland fill permit from the DNR, which I think the DNR is going to have a tough time granting a wetland fill permit across that pretty extensive black spruce swamp.
Thank you.
So do we have yes, Ms. Hessel?
I'd like to make a motion to approve rezone 22-011.
Okay, we have a motion by Ms. Hessel for approving the rezone request. Is there a second? I will second that motion. So we have a motion by Ms. Hessel, second by myself, Mr. Betcher, for the approval of rezone request 22-011. Any further discussion? Yes, Mr. Buckholz.
Jay, I got a question I'm not understanding. They're already got a dwelling already set up on lot one and they're just about done with it?
Correct.
I guess I'm understanding how that can be. We're trying to do the rezones here to approve and they're already building on it.
So
I'm just confused.
yes. So again, you take a snapshot in time where there was an existing dwelling out here. They tore that down. They started building a new house in a new location that's almost complete. They're now coming back and saying, hey, how can we rebuild in that other cabin's existing footprint? And the only thing that would theoretically work is if you were able to split the lot into a new separate lot. And the only way we can split the lot into a new separate lot is to rezone it to RR1.
I got it. Thank you.
Yep.
So, Mr. Schuman, yes, go ahead.
So the new building that's already 80% constructed, did that fall within the setback requirements of
Yeah,
both
that's
the
a-
lake and the road?
Yeah, that one
it
was a
does?
compliant structure.
Okay.
Just tight on all sides, but yeah. it
Tight on
does.
all sides. Okay, good. That's good to hear. Then I got, Mr. Chairman, I got one question for Mr. Butterfield again.
Yeah,
Sir, what is your master plan for the north end of lot 2?
Our master plan, we share with the Bairds. We're looking to create a family property here. The property has the first right of refusal back to the Johnson family. So if we were to ever to sell, it comes back. So there's no intention of selling it. There's no intention of creating anything. Our view we want is exactly the view that they want. And I can appreciate their concern with this because this lake is a quaint, quiet, essentially you're by yourself with the ducks and everything else. So we share the same concerns and there is no intention of developing this property short of our family uses. So.
And your only access is by boat or the waders or something to get over there?
Yes, you cannot, boater, you can wade across the marsh.
wetland.
Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
and for my comment, I would just like to remind the committee and, well, the audience as well that, remember that rezones are a legislative action that cannot have conditions or attached to them or be contingent upon whatever, scenario down the road. We're just looking at rezoning this parcel of land. So any future things that are done with it, construction or whatever, would then come under a different request, under a conditional use or the different permits through the zoning office. So right now, today, we're just looking at and voting on the request to rezone this parcel. So we have a motion and a second for the approval. Is there any further discussion? If not, we will need a roll call vote. Kathy?
Stacy Hessel,
Yes.
Jesse Betcher,
Yes.
Tweed Schuman,
Yes.
Ron Buckholz,
Yes.
Michael Myers, Maestri, I'm sorry.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, motion passes unanimous. Next item. Thank you.
Next request, this is the conditional use permit. No, sorry. This is a public hearing in the town of Meadowbrook, rezone number 22-013. Owner Daniel Dean, northwestern quarter, the southwestern quarter, section 22, township 37 north, range 6 west, parcel 016-637-223201. 40 total acres, zone forestry 1. Purpose of the request is to rezone from forestry 1 to agricultural 2 to allow for a lesser dimensional requirement to place a modular dwelling on the property. The shoreline wetland district is not to be affected in this request. As per the staff report, again, the purpose of the request is to rezone 40 acres of F1 to A2. The applicant is requesting to do this in that the A2 dimensional requirements change from a 20-foot width and length to a 14-foot minimum width requirement. This zone district dimensional requirement was initially intended to remain within the agricultural 1 and agricultural 2 zone districts as to allow a lesser width on a modular or double wide trailer for agricultural farmland help. These dimensional requirements have not been changed since, and we do see several land use permits every year take advantage of this lesser setback width requirement in those 2 zone districts. That is the case for this individual rezone request we have in front of us. If the property was rezoned, or if the property was denied, if the request was denied, if the rezone was denied, the applicant would then need to construct a habitable addition onto the already purchased manufactured dwelling as to meet the overall dimensional requirements. The A2 zone district was chosen as that land immediately to the south of this area is already zoned A2. The other surrounding uses are light agricultural, forestry. The town of Meadowbrook's comprehensive plan shows this area as rural preservation with the primary intent to protect existing farming and forestry operations from encroachment by incompatible uses. As by motion of the town board, again, this one has not seen the town board's request. They are subject to hear this request on Wednesday. In conversations with the chairman, they are still going to hear it, and any type of rezone approval here would still be contingent on the town board's approval. There were 4 opinion letters sent out, 1 returned, no objections. Does the committee have a chance to read those?
Yes.
Yes.
Therefore, they are incorporated into the record. That is all.
Chair, I have a question.
Yes.
If the town hasn't heard it and we tabled the other ones, why are we not tabling this one? Based on the town's hearing, we don't have the town's feedback and we already tabled the other till next month. So why would we not table this one till next month?
That's a fair question.
It is, and I really think the reason is this one is not as contentious, perhaps, whether that's fair to view it that way or not. We do have the chairman of the town of Meadowbrook here. I don't know if he wants to speak on that. But again, this one isn't as contentious as the other cases where we're really, wanting to hear and gauge that town input. If this committee so chooses that they don't want to hear it without the town's input, that is your decision. You can postpone this. Otherwise, you could still, it's not necessarily as a condition, but it would be a contingency pending the town's approval. And really the reason why is there's a conflict of the dates and the times. Where the town, we thought they were going to hear this last month and they didn't have a town board meeting, or it was got moved to their next agenda item. And they're going to be hearing this on Wednesday. So if we postpone, we move this until October, construction season starting to get behind the 8 ball per se, and we have a very busy October meeting. But I'll leave it up to
Andy,
legal counsel and committee.
Andy, are you still online?
I am, Mr. Chair, yes.
So here's the deal. We have a situation here where one of our committee members is the chair of the town board, and understanding that if we vote today, there's no conflict of interest. He can participate in discussion and voting. My concern is that if we do postpone this and then the town does vote on that, then that might, not influence, but might make the chair of the town board, ineligible to vote if we postpone it. So based on the fact that we've only had, this is not contentious, where the other 2 items that we're postponing are quite contentious with a number of opinion letters. This one had 1 opinion letter with no objection. So my thought is to go ahead with the hearing on this and a vote. And again, not putting a condition on a rezone, but putting it, as Jay said, contingent upon the fact that the town does approve it. What are your opinions on that?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. I did speak with Jay about this yesterday, and we had the same thoughts as you do, Mr. Chair, about it not being and I don't even know if contentious is the right word. The feedback we've received from the public is not as overwhelming as the other 2 situations, which is why we felt comfortable recommending to the committee that you could take action contingent upon town approval. In terms of the conflict of interest, it's never a conflict of interest for an individual to be in a representative capacity on behalf of 2 municipal entities. And so I'm not concerned with the conflict question in this circumstance, whether you postpone or proceed today. Either way, I'm not concerned with the conflict situation. So I think it's well within your rights to move forward with this application today. And obviously, if you'd like to postpone, you can certainly do that if that's the committee's desire as well.
Okay, I appreciate that, and that's good to know about the not being a conflict of interest. Any questions for Andy, or did you have a comment?
I have a comment, but I want to just talk on the town board side of it if I can. I get calls from the applicants that they want to get building on that parcel. And I believe, and I agree, I think we should hear this today.
Okay, so yeah, we've already, I'm not a big fan of postponing stuff, for the record. I like to, kind of move along and get things done with the proceedings. So having said that, I think that we're going to move forward with this. So I would entertain a motion to go into public hearing. We have a motion by Mr. Buckholz, second by Ms. Hessel, to go into public hearing for rezone request 22-013. Any further discussion? All those
In discussion.
Yes.
Jay, how many of these do we have a public hearing prior to the town board hearing it or giving us a decision?
We've had a few.
Have we had a few?
We've had a few. And it's really more of a timing thing. And usually it's, no offense, it's usually with Meadowbrook just because their town board meetings are later in the month than our zoning committee meetings. And if we were to hold those off, then you're talking like a 3-month, if not a 4-month process, especially for a rezone, to have any type of final, approvals and ratification of the county board. But we have seen a few, and in those cases, we have made it as either condition in a conditional use permit or as a contingency in a rezone that it also accepts and is granted the town approval process.
And remind me, with the opinion letters that were sent out, were there any objections?
No, there was 4 sent out. 1 was returned, no objections. I can read that into record if you'd like.
No, I read those.
Okay. Yep. No objections. I have not had any discussion with other individuals in this area that had any type of objections either.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to go into public hearing. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, do we have Mr. Daniel Dean or a representative here that would like to speak on this? Yes. Please state your name and address, please.
Okay, Julie Ostrander, 1096 N, State Highway 27, Exland, Wisconsin. Dan and I bought this property 15 years ago, intending to eventually retire and move up there. Well, we have retired. We are ready to move up there. We had a plan to pull a new modular home in there, and beknownst to us, ignorance is no excuse, but we didn't realize that it had to be a certain width to pull in there. So as soon as we found that out, we applied for a permit. It has always been our dream to be up there. It will be a brand new home. I don't know what else to say, but I do thank you for your time.
Okay, thank you. Any questions for the applicant? Okay, is there anyone present who would like to speak in favor of this rezone request? Anyone who would like to speak in opposition to the rezone request? Online? All right, hearing none, looking for a motion to come out of public hearing. We have a motion by Mr. Schuman, second by Ms. Hessel to come out of public hearing. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed?
This is the discussion action, Town of Meadowbrook, rezone number 22-013, owner Daniel Dean. Legal description is previously read into record. Request is to rezone 40 acres of Forestry 1 F1 to Agricultural 2A2 to allow for a lesser dimensional requirement. And just to kind of reiterate some of those dimensional requirements, it's probably something within the next few years we'll have to address at zoning committee, but we get a lot of requests for that AKA tiny house movement, whether they're the pre-built Amish cabins or whether they're a double wide manufactured house. Our R1, RR2, F1 zone district requirements have a minimum width of 20 feet and a minimum length of 20 feet, as well as a 500 square foot overall total habitable living area. So basically you got to have a 20 by 20 box that fits within that house. And a lot of these pre-built kits are only 16 feet in width as not to go over DOT road width requirements. The A1 and A2 zone districts, though, have always been as a 14-foot width and length. So you got to have a 14 by 14 box that fits somewhere within that dwelling. Something that we may want to look at someday, because we are seeing more of those, pre-built cabins or these double wides. But again, for this request, that is their intent, is to, to rezone this to AG2 to lessen that dimensional requirement, and then to place what would be known as a double wide modular home. It's not as a double wide trailer per se. It is a modular home. It's built in two pieces and then assembled on site. But again, only being of 16 feet in width, and that would have conflicts with the current zone district unless it was rezoned to A2 or A1.
Okay, committee. Mr. Buckholz, you have a comment?
Yeah, we're in discussion, right?
Yep.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion to approve on the rezone number 22-013.
Okay, we have a motion to approve. Should include the findings of facts in the motion.
They should, yeah.
Oh, yeah, sorry, Jesse, I was just to say that. With finding of facts of 1 through 9.
Okay, we have a motion by Mr. Buckholz to approve rezone 22-013 with findings of fact 1, 3 through 9.
I'll second that with the contingency that the town approves it. That we discussed the contingency.
We have a second by Ms. Hessel with the already pre-discussed contingent upon town approval. This is different than a condition put on a rezone, which we can't do. This is contingent upon the town's approval. Any further discussion on this?
Mr. Chair, if I could, just quickly, so the minutes will reflect that the motion includes the contingency. Is that Mr. Buckholz's intent?
Yes, he confirmed verbally and
Okay, I didn't hear that. Thank you.
yeah, and I would just like to comment, I would like to commend the applicants on coming forward with this. A lot of people maybe wouldn't have, they'd have put the less, the smaller house in there and maybe just thought they could get away with it. So we do appreciate you doing the right thing and coming forward with this, even though it may have been a little bit of a hassle. We appreciate it. Is there any further discussion? Okay, hearing none, we'll need a roll call vote. Do we need to read back? Do I need to read it back or?
No, I think we're
Good,
got it.
okay.
Jesse Betcher,
Yes.
Michael Maestri,
Yes.
Tweed Schuman,
Yes.
Stacy Hessel.
Yes.
Ron Buckholz.
Yes.
All in favor.
And the findings of facts were also included within the motion. This is for conditional use applications. This is a public hearing in the town of Hayward, conditional use permit number 22-027, owner Zachary and Samantha Stewart, part of the southwest one quarter, the southeast one quarter, section 14, township 41 north, range 9 west, parcel 010-941-144304, 0.73 total acres, zone residential recreational 1. Permit is desired for the location and operation of a taxidermy studio in an existing accessory building located on the property per section 17.2, parent B, parent 9 of the Sawyer County zoning ordinance. Per the applicant's statement, they are proposing a small taxidermy studio within an existing building where they currently reside. The hours of operation would be Monday through Thursday, 9 a.m. to 4 p.m., Fridays and Saturdays by appointment only. Currently, Samantha Stewart is working on obtaining her state license through the Department of Natural Resources. She also has an attached statement that was included within your packet as part of my staff report for list of potential conditions that CUP 22-027 would be limited to the current property owner, that the hours of business and operation be from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. Monday through Thursday, and that Fridays and Saturdays be by appointment only, that all signage must meet the Sawyer County zoning ordinance requirements. All animal carcass waste is to be disposed in a proper manner as specified within Wisconsin State Statutes NR 10.105, parent 7, parent C, and the Wisconsin Admin Code, and that all other town, county, state, and federal laws are followed. As by action of the town board, motion was approved. Gary Gedart, town chair, Henry Bearhart, supervisor, Andrea Whitworth, supervisor. No additional comments. Signed, Bryn Hand, town clerk. There were 6 opinion letters sent out and 0 were returned. That is all.
Okay, let's see. How come? Public hearing. Okay, need a motion to go to public hearing?
Yes, sir.
So moved by Mr. Schuman, second by Ms. Hessel. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, public hearing is Zachary or Samantha Stir here.
Samantha Store, 15202W Hospital Road, Hayward.
Yeah, just wondering if there's anything you want to add that's not in the report or any.
Yes, I would actually. Thank you for asking. One of the items that did come up during the previous conversations about this rezone or this commercial conditional use is I do not have any intentions or planning on doing traditional tanning, chemical tanning, so that there's no concern about chemical waste removal or any potential risk to the wetlands that my property does butt up to. And for clarification, yeah, this is a residential property that we currently have our home on. This is a smaller building that was the original cabin on that property many years ago that we would be repurposing into the taxidermy studio. So to be very clear, we live here. I have family, I have children, I have dogs, I have all these things. I have no intention on drawing in any uninvited guests for dinners and et cetera. That was something that came up a couple times previously. So I already there's all those things are in place. And as you stated, I am currently working towards my Wisconsin license for taxidermy, which I would need in order to operate this business.
So go ahead, Ms. Hessel.
For the parking, where are you intending that they park? On Hospital Road or in your driveway?
They would be using my driveway. So the building kind of there in the middle, that would be the studio. We've already started putting up some privacy fence to protect my private property between that building and the home, which is in the front, so they'll come past my residence. And then there will be an additional privacy fence that will limit them from going back further, which is our garage. So that's our pole shed in the back. That space, it can fit 2 to 3 vehicles wide. Our driveway is fairly wide. So there's plenty of opportunity for people to park. Generally, you don't end up with a bunch of people at your parking lot in this type of a business. It's kind of ad hoc.
So, yeah, I understand if people are just dropping off or picking up, but are you going to be doing any kind of sales at all from that? Like, are you going to have like a counter with you're selling any products? You mentioned the studio, so are you going to sell taxidermied
No,
animals or?
no, it would be private.
Okay, and then the only thing that is a little bit concerning is there was, what are you doing with the carcasses? Like you have a small property here, like you have to dispose of them properly. What is your plan for that?
So most of the items that come in, if it's something that's going to be stored because there's a timing on that, correct? So there will be multiple freezers where a lot of things will be stored as things are being worked on. If and we've already worked out with Republic Service because I have done some of my own work, my personal stuff. So we work with Republic Service. If it's something that can be frozen and disposed of within our just general pickup. Otherwise, we take stuff to the dump so it can be frozen until it can be removed. In the cases of like larger animals, we actually take them directly to Serona.
What's in Serona?
That's where Republic Service has their main facility, which is open
Okay.
daily.
Any other questions for the applicant? Okay, thank you. Is there anyone who would like to speak in favor of this conditional use application? Anyone who would like to speak in opposition to the CUP? All right, hearing none, need a motion to come out of public hearing.
I'll make a motion.
Motion by
Mr. Chair.
Mr. Buckhold, second by Ms. Hessel. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed?
This is the discussion action for conditional use permit number 22-027, owners Zachary and Samantha Stir Legal description is previously read into record. Request is to locate and operate a taxidermy studio in an existing building, subject to section 17.2, parent B, parent 9 of the Sawyer County zoning ordinance. Again, referencing the staff report, I had listed a couple of potential conditions. You can certainly add to this or delete from this list, but identified that that the CUP is limited to the current property owner, that the hours of business and operation be from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. Monday through Thursday, Fridays and Saturdays by appointment only. That was as per the applicant's statement. So again, that was their plan of operation. That all signage meet the Sawyer County zoning ordinance requirements. All animal waste, carcass and carcass waste be disposed in a proper manner as specified by Wisconsin state statutes and Wisconsin admin code. That all other town, county, state, and federal laws are followed, including statutes 29.506, which is for the taxidermization of animals.
All right, thanks. Committee?
Okay, I'll make a
Mr.
motion,
Schuman.
Mr. Chairman, to approve conditional use application number 22-027 with the conditions listed in Jay's staff report 1 through 5 and the finding of facts 1 through 9 for approval. Motion, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Schuman. And Mr. Buckles, you have your light on?
Yeah, I will second that.
Okay, we have a motion by Mr. Schuman, second by Mr. Buckholz to approve the CUP 22-027 with staff report conditions 1 through 5 and findings of fact 1 through 9. Any further discussion? Hearing none, we need a roll call on this one as well.
Stacy Hessel,
Yes.
Jesse Batcher,
Yes.
Tweed Schuman,
Yes.
Ron Buckholz,
Yes.
Michael Maestri.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right, item 4C and 4D for the public hearing and the discussion action for the town of Lenru conditional use permit number 22-028 for the 84 unit campground has been postponed. Previously, moving on to a public hearing in the town of Edgewater, conditional use permit number 22-029, owner DDS Real Estate LLC, located in the southeast one quarter of the southeast one quarter, section 30, township 37, north, range 9 west, parcel 0089373044001, zoned agricultural 1. Permit is desired for the operation and location of a non-metallic mining operation, including rock crusher and hot mix plant. This is the early renewal of conditional use permit number 21-005 in combination with renewing conditional use permit number 19-037 to combine two existing non-metallic mining operations under one conditional use permit. The original CUP was approved in July of 1988 and most recently renewed in April of 2021 and September of 2019. Again, we had two existing conditional use permits out here, and this renewal, early renewal, is really needed to combine those two existing previous ones. The reason why we initially split these out is that a portion of the property was leased to a different operator. Now that lease has not been renewed, and the current owner of the property would be the operator for the entire parcel. This was previously discussed with the approval of conditional use permit number 21-005, in that the owner may at some day wish to consolidate both of these CUPs into one operation. The reclamation plan has been updated to reflect the planned operation and procedures, and financial assurance has been received in the amount of $18,375. The attached maps in this packet kind of show the existing operation activities that have been conducted within phase 1 and phase 2. Over the next 5 years, it is anticipated that the expansion would occur into phase 3, which is 2.75 acres of expansion, and phase 4 of 1.75 acres of expansion. At the end of the 5-year potential approval of this conditional use permit, the owner and operator would need to update their plan of operation to include future proposed expansion. Per section 6.23, parent 2 of the Sawyer County zoning ordinance, it would require that any rock crusher or hot mix plant be a greater than 1,000 feet from any residence not on the same property as the owner. The 1,000 foot setback is for just the crushing operation, but the actual mine site could be closer unless conditioned by the zoning committee. The existing use in this area is woodland area, mixed agricultural and mixed residential. Nearest resident is roughly 600 feet away from the mine site, directly to the southwest and east of the proposed mine site. The owner and operator has altered the hours of operation slightly for this conditional use permit process. The new specified hours of the operation are 5:30 a.m. to 8 p.m. Monday through Saturday during the construction season, with the option to operate 24 hours a day, 3 to 4 days in a row, as long as neighbors are contacted with the days and hours. Crushing is to be 2 to 3 times per year for a 2 to 4 week at time interval. The asphalt plant would be from 5:30 a.m. to 8 p.m. Discussion should be held to look at those specific hours for crushing, unless the committee would allow crushing to occur during the hours of operation, which would include the option to operate 24 hours per day, 3 to 4 days in a row, as long as neighbors are contacted. So we can get into those later on. As part of the potential conditions, abide by elements included within the plan of operation unless they're specified or changed by the committee, to maintain compliance with NR 135, maintain compliance with NR Chapter 30, including wetland setbacks, and comply with all other state, federal, local laws. The action by the town board. Did we not get that one?
Nope. Edgewater.
Yeah, we have correspondence to have this go to the town of Edgewater, and it doesn't look like the town of Edgewater sent us anything back on it. There were 10 opinion letters sent out, none were returned. And committee, I have no reason for why that the town did not hear this. We've had issues with them, but we sent them notification. They should have put it on their town board agenda.
I just talked to her yesterday too.
What'd she say?
Not much.
Okay.
So you don't know for sure if they've actually heard it or not. Maybe they heard it, but just didn't send you the information.
Right.
Or-
If you want me to, because I wasn't able to get on the computer this morning here, I can go check and see if there's anything else.
I was at Fort
You were,
with the township.
okay. If you just want to do a 5-minute one. and-
Well,
Yeah, it was on their agenda, so they had action discussion. We just never received anything back from them. They held it on Tuesday, September 13th, which would have been 3 days ago. Generally, they're very good with getting us their issue or their comments back to us.
Yeah.
I was not at that meeting. We do have the applicant here if you want to entertain what he remembers from that meeting. There might be another individual in the audience that may have been also at that meeting and can speak on that, but
okay,
it's up to you.
so that's actually enough information. So what I need is a motion to go into public hearing on this, and then we can hear some more about it. And then after that, we will go on a break.
The only reason I requested the break was twofold, to use the restroom and then also to give Kathy time to check her to see if they gave her that.
If they sent something to me tonight or this morning, excuse me. There, because there was nothing yesterday. So.
Let's take time.
Yeah,
Shoot.
okay, so we need a motion to
Take a
go on,
recess.
take a recess?
Yeah.
Okay, so we are going to take a break until 9:50,
Okay.
which is 7 minutes. A motion to go into public hearing. Motion by to go into public hearing, I think by Mr. Buckholz, but we did not get a second. We have a second by Ms. Hessel. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, public hearing. Do we have a representative from DDS Real Estate?
Yep.
You just state your name and your affiliation with the organization.
Morning, I'm Derek Smith with DDS Real Estate and DS Sand and Gravel. My address is 2475 24th Avenue, Rice Lake. I'm a property owner in town of Edgewater. And I'm here to combine 2 conditional use permits into one and renew my conditional use application.
Okay, that looks pretty self-explanatory. I don't have any questions on that. I do have a question of, so I see the initial one was approved in 1988. How long have you been with the organization or the company?
This will be four years I'll have owned that property.
So in that 4 years.
Last year was the first year that we got it, that I got a conditional use permit and a mining permit was last year into my own name. So the property originally was leased and the lease was from 1988 till prior.
Okay. So in the last, well, we'll say in the last year then, how many, so you've been doing the asphalt and rock crushing in that?
No, we have not done anything in there.
You haven't done anything?
No.
Okay. That answers my next question. Any other questions for the applicant?
I do actually. Can you speak on the town's action and discussion? that you
Yeah, they
were-
held the board meeting and everything. They voted, everything passed.
All
I
right,
mean,
did they have any other unique conditions or
No.
specifications or, okay.
Nope, never brought up anything.
So I realize we don't have that from the town itself, so we're just, taking your word on that. But was there anybody there who was speaking in opposition at that time? At the town board?
No,
Did any of the town board members vote against it, or was it unanimous?
it was unanimous.
And again, we recognize that, we
And-
don't have confirmation.
And Linda was there too.
All right. Oh, we have a question.
How important is that 24-hour asphalt?
Well, the thing is our time is very limited. So, I mean, you got basically 7 months by the time road bans go off in the springtime till freeze up, which is basically November. So as far as I don't own a crusher, basically we hired all that out. They're on these crushing operations, with how the things are going with help, and troubles finding help and stuff like that. So we put 24 hours in there just in case they need it, because when they break down, I mean, these guys could break down for 2 to 3 weeks at a time. So their time is limited. So it's tough to get a crusher in and say, you can only crush, 2 to 3 weeks and then you're out of here. Well, I mean, in the meantime, if they break down, then we're kind of limited to what they can do. So I'm hoping that everything can be done, in the operating, hours that are needed there, where we don't have to go in the 24-hour, but that's kind of up to the crushing operation if they can, do that or not. So, because their time, I mean, they got almost a week just to set up and tear down that equipment, when they come in to get, in and out of there too. So it isn't all just crushing at the time. So
What are there for residents around that?
homes, I own the property on site. And so you got a bar establishment, a VFW next door. And then there's a house getting renovated. There's nobody in that house. So there's about 3 homes around that are close to the pit there.
I have it pulled up here on the aerial. So the VFW is there on the corner, on the southeast corner. There's a couple other residents there on the east side and then a few others here on the west side. To the north, it's really kind of the north east is where you'd have some other residentials. Strictly straight to the north is all ag. And strictly to the south.
All right, thanks. Okay, is there anyone who would like to speak in favor of this conditional use permit? Anyone who would like to speak in opposition?
I have a public hearing for speaking on informational purposes only. Linda Zilmer.
So it's not in support or opposition?
It's not.
Linda Zilmer, 902 Holly Hill Lane, Birchwood, Edgewater property owner. And I do attend Edgewater Town Board meetings. And I just want to explain, also maybe to elaborate on the comments I made during public comment about how detailed different towns look at things. So the Edgewater generally puts out its agenda online and posted on 3 places 24 hours to 48 hours ahead of the meeting. There was no one there in favor or opposed. The applicant was there. And there was no discussion of the actual CUP renewal or the operation plan. So again, it was a simple motion to approve, a second, and a vote to approve. And so I think what you'll find out in 5 years is if there are concerned neighbors that you probably hear about it, but at this point, nobody weighed in. And I am kind of surprised that neighbors did not respond, because I think in the past there have been concerns with items, it might be under the previous operator, items stored on site and maybe access to the pit. But if you received no objections and the town board approved, I was there, they did approve it.
Okay, any other comments either in support or opposition? Anything online? No. Okay, need a motion to come out of public hearing.
So move.
Motion by Mr. Schuman, second by Ms. Hessel. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
This is the discussion action, Town of Edgewater, conditional use permit number 22-029, owner DDS Real Estate LLC. Legal description is previously read into record. This request is for the location operation of a non-metallic mining operation, including rock crusher and asphalt plant or hot mix plant. This is the combination and early renewal of CUP 21-005 and 19-037 to combine two existing non-metallic mining operations under one conditional use permit.
Okay, committee, we have this in our hands. Who had their light on first?
I think Ron.
Mr. Chair, I make a motion to approve the CUP number 22-029 with possible conditions 1 through 4 and finding of facts 1 through 9.
Okay, we have a motion to approve by Mr. Buckle, second by Ms. Hessel, with conditions in the staff report 1 through 4, findings of fact 1 through 9. So that means no changes then to any of the times or anything. Everything's fine there. Okay. We have a motion, a second. Any further discussion on this? Mr. Schuman?
Yeah, Jay, do you have any information on the reclamation plan they have in place there?
I do.
mean, are
I don't
they
have it
complying
with
with
us, but there was two reclamation plans on this property. One was just granted last year when Derek Smith, was opening up a new operation on that same parcel. So there was actually two separate operations going on. Both had their own separate reclamation plan. We've now had kind of a combination of those, and we do have the updated reclamation plan on file. And that reclamation plan doesn't need to have further approval. It just needs to be updated as to show the encompassing of the entire property under the one operator. And we do have financial assurance already set up in place there.
So just to clarify that, we don't have to vote on that here for the combined reclamation plan?
No,
Okay,
it's an amendment to.
okay. Okay, so we have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion on the CUP 22-029? If not, we'll need a roll call vote.
Jesse Betcher.
Yes.
Michael Maestri.
Yes.
Tweet Schuman.
Yes.
Stacy Hessel.
Yes.
Ron Buckholz.
Yes.
All in favor.
All right, item number 5, which is the rezoning conditional use permit applications to the town of Round Lake, owner Travis Butterfield. These were previously postponed for items A through F. Those are to be heard at the November zoning committee meeting. We are into new business, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, Round Lake Township regarding zoning practices.
Good morning, Chairman.
Hello.
Jay, Kathy, rest of the board, thank you for having us here. I'm Rolf Hansen. I'm the chair of the town of Round Lake, 11568 North Rickman Road in Hayward. And I'm here with most of the rest of our board, Jeannie Chaubeck, Don Stover, Kay Wilson. And we are here today to basically affirm our interest in keeping things running like a well-oiled machine with you guys from the time that zoning starts with our plan commission and our zoning board and then gets moved to you. And so we want to affirm that and our role in the process. And as your council mentioned a little bit earlier, we think that it's especially important at the town level and relevant. And we have a lot of intimate understanding and details of our town. So I just wanted to talk briefly about the history of the good work that's gone on in the nearly couple decades that I've been on the board between our town and the county board, the zoning board, or committee, I should say. And that goes through a lot of different changes of personnel on our level and also your level. But over time, it's worked really well. And we respect what you guys do and your eyes on issues and the way you look at things and the tools that you use. And we hope you do the same for us. We, as you know, dealing with a lot of towns in the county, we have a unique perspective on things that go on in our town and the details, the neighborhoods, the situations, the siting. And in a lot of cases, as you probably do, some of you who either live or visit the town, you understand the neighborhoods really well, and you get to know the people and the stories. So with that kind of detail and our lens on things, we feel that when we do diligence on matters that are before us, whether it's zoning or conditional use applications, that we put a lot of time into it. And we're not perfect, but we spend a lot of time with it and just want you guys to know that that's important to us. And so we want you to feel comfortable reaching out if there's ever something that doesn't square with you in terms of, say, a condition on a conditional use permit, something that doesn't make sense, something that seems like too much government for certain folks that might be minimalist in their approach, or folks who like a lot of government. There are reasons why we affix conditions to these things, and so that's important to us. So to sum up, we just want to keep things rolling really well with you guys, but we also want you to understand that we put a lot into this stuff, and that we know you do too. So let's keep things working as best we can going forward. Do you have any questions about anything that I've said or the letter that Supervisor Chabek generated for this meeting?
I don't. I mean, we've had some dialogue, in the past. I know that when I first, took over as the chair, there was some concern with, maybe some of the comments I made of being inflammatory or otherwise, alarming. Hopefully I've alleviated those concerns, knowing that, we do, not just me, but the entire committee does take the recommendations of the town, not just Round Lake, but all the towns, very seriously. That's near the top of our, in our decision-making process. We're like, how did the town vote? What did they decide in this matter? And what were their opinions? So I don't want you to think that, we don't take that into extremely high consideration in making our decision. And we don't take these decisions lightly, any of them that we make. I know there have been some, conditions, a few, very few, that have been slightly altered in your recommendations on some conditional use permits. And again, like you had your reasons for that, this committee had their reasons for those changes and decisions as well. So I do appreciate you guys coming in here, though. I wouldn't mind if more of the towns did the same thing.
Thanks for the time. And I just also wanted to add, I meant to say this at the start, but that we have a legacy of working really well with you guys. And what that has meant to us is that, pardon my voice this morning, but we, for most of the time, decisions have been respected. It seems it's, when we rule a certain way, you guys seem to rule with us. And so I hope we can keep it that way, but we understand that sometimes you see things a little differently, but also that there are always reasons why we affix conditions to things. And we like to think that after all the debating that we do in the diligence and looking at neighborhoods and site visits and perspective over time on neighborhoods that they're valid reasons. So that's where we're coming from on it. So appreciate it very much again, you having us out here today.
Yeah, and Mr. Hanson,
Yeah.
Mr. Chair, I just have to say, I really appreciate Round Lake. They do their due diligence. Your board has been here in the past whenever there's been a contentious. And I think just the storage containers and those things were led by Round Lake. So we appreciate that.
Thanks, Tweed.
Is there anybody else from Round Lake that would like to say anything or speak on anything? Nope. Sorry, committee, was there any other questions? Michael Macery, do you have any questions for the Round Lake board?
No, thank you for asking.
Okay.
All right, moving on, we're at the 2023 meeting dates. We brought these up last month, so you guys can take a look at them and see what would work out for you. But with October's meeting getting to be pretty loaded, we'd like to kind of nail these down as far as when we want to have zoning committee meetings next year. Ever since I can remember, which has been about 13 years now, we've always done the third Friday of the month at 8:30 a.m. If this committee wants to change that, we so can, but got to keep in mind the other moving parts, be it that the towns have to hear the cases generally prior to zoning committee. There's other committees that are already established for their times and dates. I wouldn't recommend going any earlier in the month, but we can certainly look at going later. What Kathy has identified here would be the third Friday of every month, potentially minus the September. So September is still the third.
Oh, it is, yeah.
And it's usually November's that we always need to potentially change or alter, in that if we do the third Friday of the month in November, that's the day before the 9-day gun deer season.
And April also.
Oh, and April's, yes. And April's is unique in that
The election.
the elections take place then. So we can discuss when, where, and when we want to have these meetings, but we'd like to get them hammered down today. So we have to decide really kind of, are we going to stay with the third Friday of every month? And then from there it's, oh, here are the other committee meeting dates as well.
More, yeah.
Well, Mr. Chairman, I'm in favor of the third Friday like they're set now. As I stated before, it gives us the last week of the month off to do vacations and get a breather and reset ourselves. And so that's where I'm at.
Yeah, so I fully understand that, having that last week off, not necessarily off, but to, not be committed to county board committee meetings is important. So I really don't want to mess with that. And the problem going earlier is that it's going to affect pretty much all of the towns except maybe Meadowbrook, who already is a little bit later in the month. So initially this was brought up several months ago because there was some, it was just brought up, that some people, it's interfering with their other jobs or their other full-time jobs and stuff like that. And it was not always the most convenient to take off for 4 hours on a Friday morning.
Lucky if it's 4.
Yeah. So, I've looked at this several times and I don't know if that, one possibility, and it would be cutting it close with the town boards, would be that the third Wednesday. Because right now there's nothing on, there's no other committee meetings on that third Wednesday. It would be cutting it close with some of the towns. Ms. Hessel, go ahead. You have a comment?
I was just going to make a motion to leave it as is. It says it's a possible action item, but if we need a motion, I'd be happy to make that.
Okay, so we have a motion by Ms. Hessel to leave as is, meaning no changes, meaning it stays as the third Friday of the month at 8:30 a.m. We have a motion by Ms. Hessel and a second. Any further discussion?
We should look at April's. I think the third Friday of April 2023 will work as long as county board potentially just doesn't have a just election meeting, that they would have a business and an election process. I think that's always the issue that I ran into, is that, well, are you guys having an April county board meeting? Because usually it's just for the election of officers, but if we can do them.
23, it's just going to be.
Okay.
there's just-
Yeah, 23, there's no election.
Okay, so the third Friday in April works, and then really it would just be the discussion as the third Friday in November. If we want to keep it,
Maybe just keep it shorter so you guys can get out of here. Don't mind.
yeah. And that's fine. I don't have issues with that. I may be virtual.
Didn't we move that up one time?
We did, and I think even this year we're up on that, if I remember correctly.
I think we went like a week before.
I'd have to get in W Drive though.
They don't.
I don't think I can. get
Your
into
body,
W
your
Drive.
cancer, you're not around or not available or whatever.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I don't have that on me.
So in then November, the county board meeting is the 21st. It's on a Tuesday in November, isn't it? Sorry, where's the,
For this year, you're talking.
for this year? It's actually on Tuesday, the 14th.
That's for 2023 is what you're looking at.
Oh, yes, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's on Tuesday, the 14th.
Well, this calendar is for 2020. Is that one?
That's what I'm talking about. Yeah. So we have motion in a second. We're in discussion now. And I think we're looking at just, and we're just talking about 2023. So for November, you don't have a date yet.
I don't, because I thought I'll leave that open because it is.
So can we make a, since the, maybe we could make a change in that during the November meeting, because the county board always has theirs on the Tuesday after the second Monday, that the zoning committee could have their meeting in November on that Wednesday.
So it would,
So it'd still be the day after.
County board.
County
It'd still be
board.
the day after the county board, wouldn't interfere with anybody's hunting plans.
It would be the third Wednesday of the month, so it wouldn't interfere with the towns.
Well, the way it's written in the policy is the county board meeting is the Tuesday after the second Monday.
Right,
So
which would be
we-
the 14th.
Right, but I mean, just for in the future, if we're gonna codify this, we could put it as the Wednesday after, we could put it as the day after the board meeting. In fact, we could do that for all of them, because then it, you know how we were screwed up in July, not screwed up, but in July, we had our zoning meeting before the county board meeting because of the way the calendar fell. I think it might make things simpler if we just put the zoning meeting is the day after the county board meeting, even if they have it. Would that screw up for April?
It'll be September and December of next year would be the Fridays that would change. So September's would then be the fourth Friday of the month, which is again the day after county board. And December's would then move to the 20th, or no, it'd be the 22nd.
22nd.
I think we should just leave them the way they are, like the motion's on the floor, and just change November.
Change November's to what?
Well,
Would you be okay with changing it into a Wednesday, that one time in November?
yeah, that'd be all
The
right.
day after the county board meeting, so November 15th. Then we're not pushing, because not only do people hunt, but that's also the kids get out of school, so people go on vacation and stuff like that.
Travel.
Yeah, that's fine, you know, like you say, and like our town, We moved it back 1 week. I'd like to move it back another week, just because of zoning, but they'll hang me if I do that. So,
So we have a motion on a second. Would you like to alter that to in November to be the third Wednesday?
I'll amend my motion to, everything is kept the same except for November 15th, where we have it on Wednesday. I'm sorry, yes, November 2023, where we would have it on a Wednesday opposed to a Friday.
And I'll amend my second to include that.
Okay, we have a motion with a slight amendment by Ms. Hessel, second by Mr. Schuman. Still in discussion. Again, I didn't, I think it was me who initially brought this up, and it wasn't because me personally, Jesse, wanted to change this. I had just heard comments from others, so I wanted to do exactly what we're doing here and talk about it and address it and see if it makes sense for the majority of the committee to change it. And it sounds like most people are happy with the current, the status quo of the current schedule. So is there any further discussion? Yes, Ms. Hessel.
I don't think it's about us individually. I think it doesn't make sense for any of us to be here on a Friday, but it makes sense for the county, and that's what's important. It makes sense for the way that the county is established for meetings.
Mr. Buckholz, did you have another comment?
oh, no, sorry.
Okay. All right, so a motion by Ms. Hessel, second by Mr. Schuman to leave the calendar as is, except the one change in November, moving the zoning committee to Wednesday, November 15th. We don't need a roll call vote on this. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay. Next is any other business that may come before the committee for discussion. Anything? Mr. Macer, do you have any comments for discussion only?
Not at this time, thank you.
Okay, if there's nothing else, we are adjourned.
Thanks, Andy. Thanks, Mike.
Thank you. Have a good weekend.
Thanks, Andy.